Hello everyone, my name is Gabriel Santos and I'm 30 years old. You're not going to believe what I'm about to tell you. To this day I keep wondering if it was real or if I was going crazy. But I need to get this off my chest, because it completely changed my life and I can't look at a radio the same way anymore. It all started 3 months ago, when I moved into an old house I inherited from my grandmother. It was a big house, kind of isolated, surrounded by trees and with that old wood smell that reminded me of my childhood. I work as a programmer, so being able to work from home was perfect for me. The internet worked well, there was space to set up my office, and the silence was ideal for concentrating. But there was something strange about the house. In the basement, there was an old radio, one of those big wooden ones, that my grandmother had left there. It was a model from the 60s, still working, but it only picked up AM stations. I didn't pay much attention to it at first. I left it there, dusty, without even thinking about using it. It was in the 3rd week of living there that everything started. I was working late, around 2 in the morning, when I heard a sound coming from the basement. It was soft music, very gentle. I thought maybe the radio had turned on by itself due to some electrical problem. I went down to turn it off and that's when I heard it for the first time. A male voice, somewhat trembling, interrupted the music and said, "If anyone is listening to me, please help me. I don't know where I am." I froze. I looked at the radio and the display was tuned to a frequency I had never seen before, 12:47 a.m. I thought it might be some ham radio operator or someone playing around. I tried to change stations, but I couldn't. The tuner knob was stuck on that frequency. The voice continued, "My name is Thomas. I've been lost for a long time. If you can hear me, please stay there. I need to talk to someone." My first reaction was to turn off the radio. But something in that man's voice touched me. There was genuine desperation, a deep loneliness that I recognized because I had felt something similar. So, against all my better judgment, I replied, "Hi, Thomas? I can hear you. Are you okay?" There was a long silence. Then, you can hear me? Really? It's been so long since anyone answered. And so began the strangest conversation of my life. Thomas told me he was trapped somewhere dark for years, that he could only communicate through that radio, and that he had already tried to talk to dozens of people, but no one ever answered. He said he didn't know how he had gotten there, that his memories were confused, but that he remembered having a family, a normal life. At first, I thought it was some kind of psychological experiment or an elaborate prank. But the conversations became increasingly deep and detailed. Thomas knew things about me that no one could know. He described perfectly the house where I lived, even though I had never mentioned details about it. He knew that I had lost my parents in an accident when I was a teenager. He knew about my ex-girlfriend, about my fears, my dreams. "How do you know all this about me?" I asked in one of those nighttime conversations. I can't explain it. It's like I can see through your eyes sometimes. Like our connection is deeper than just the radio. Gabriel, I need you to understand, I'm not just a voice. I'm real. And I need your help to get out of here. Weeks passed and our conversations became routine. Every night, around 2 in the morning, I would go down to the basement and turn on the radio. Thomas was always there, waiting. He would tell me about the place where he was describing it as an infinite space of darkness, where there was no time, where memories mixed with dreams and reality. "It's like I'm suspended between 2 dimensions," he explained. "I can see fragments of your world, but I can't touch it. And there are other voices here, Gabriel. Other people like me, lost, trying to get home." I started researching about the radio, about the house, about anything that could explain what was happening. I discovered that my grandmother had bought that radio at an antique shop decades ago. The seller had mentioned that it had an interesting history, but never said what. That's when I found old records of a radio station that operated exactly on frequency 12:47 a.m. in the 70s. The station was called Bridge to Infinity and had been abruptly closed after several strange reports from listeners who said they heard voices asking for help during normal programming. "Thomas," I said in one of our conversations, "I think I found something. There was a radio station that—" "I know," he interrupted me. "I worked there. I was a sound technician." "Gabriel, I remember now. There was an experiment, something with specific frequencies, communication attempts, something went wrong. Very wrong." His voice became clearer, more urgent. "Gabriel, you need to help me get back. But there's a problem. For me to get out of here, someone needs to take my place. That's how it works. It's a balance. Do you understand?" I felt a chill in my stomach. "What are you trying to say?" "I'm saying that if you really want to help me, you need to come here. Switch places with me. It's the only way." I stopped going to the basement for a whole week. The idea terrified me, but at the same time, I couldn't stop thinking about Thomas. There was something genuine in his voice, a real suffering that touched me deeply. And worse, I was starting to feel more connected to him than to any real person in my life. My life was a mess anyway. I worked alone, had no close friends, my family was all scattered. Sometimes I would go entire days without talking to anyone. Thomas had become my only real company, even though he was just a voice on the radio. When I finally returned to the basement, he was waiting. "Gabriel, you came back. I was afraid you had abandoned me. I can't do this, Thomas. I can't switch places with you." "I understand," he said, and there was deep sadness in his voice. "But Gabriel, you need to know something. We're already connected in a way you can't imagine. Each conversation of ours, each night you spent here, created a bridge between us. You're no longer completely part of your world. You feel it, don't you? The loneliness is growing. People seem more distant. You're becoming more like me every day." And he was right. I was feeling increasingly disconnected from reality. It was like I was living in a parallel world, where the only real thing was our nightly conversations. "There's another way," Thomas continued. "You can help me find the source of the frequency. The original transmitter must still be working somewhere. If you can find it and turn it off, maybe that will break the cycle. Maybe that will free us all." He gave me detailed instructions on where to look, based on his fragmented memories from when he worked at the station. It was in an abandoned building in the suburbs, at a location that had been the headquarters of the old Bridge to Infinity. The next day, I got in my car and went looking for the place. It took me hours to find it, but when I did, I recognized it immediately. It was exactly as Thomas had described, a 3-story building, abandoned, with boarded windows and a rusty antenna on the roof. The front door was locked, but I found a side entrance that led to the basement. Inside, it was dark and damp, full of old equipment covered by tarps. At the back of the basement, I found a room with several devices still on, lights blinking, emitting a low, constant hum. In the center of the room was a giant transmitter, the size of a refrigerator, with cables and antennas coming out of it in all directions. A sign on the front said "Bridge Project, Frequency 1247. The equipment was clearly working, consuming energy from some source I couldn't identify. I called Thomas on my phone, using an app one had discovered that could tune AM frequencies. "Thomas, I found it. Everything is here, exactly as you described. Gabriel, you really did it. You found me." His voice was clearer than ever. "Now you need to turn off the transmitter. There's a red button on the back. But Gabriel, I need to warn you about something first." "What?" "When you turn this off, I'm going to disappear. Forever. There will be no more conversations, no more connection. Are you sure you want to do this?" I stood there, in front of that strange equipment, thinking about everything that had happened in the past weeks. Thomas had become the most important person in my life. He was the one who listened to me, who cared about me, who made my nights less lonely. "Thomas, what if I don't turn it off? What if I leave everything as it is?" then I'll remain trapped here forever. And you'll continue drifting away from your world, until one day you'll also join us. Gabriel, I don't want that for you. You deserve a real life, with real people. Tears ran down my face. It was the first time I had cried in years. Thomas, I don't want to lose you. Gabriel, you're not losing me. You're freeing me. And you're freeing yourself too. You'll be fine. You'll find real people to connect with. You'll live the life I can never live again. With trembling hands, I found the red button on the back of the transmitter. It was warm to the touch, vibrating with energy. Thomas? I'm here, Gabriel. Thank you. For everything. For listening to me, for caring. Thank you, Gabriel. For hearing me when no one else would. For caring about a stranger lost in the dark. You have a good heart. Don't let the world make you forget that. I pressed the button. The humming stopped immediately. The lights went out one by one. Silence took over the room. Thomas? I called on the phone. Silence. I tried several times, on several different frequencies. Nothing. Thomas had disappeared. I went home that night feeling empty, but also relieved. In the following days, something strange started to happen. I began to notice things I hadn't noticed before. The smile from the girl at the market. The neighbor's greeting. A message from an old friend inviting me to a barbecue. It was as if I had been living inside a bubble and now it had burst. The world seemed more colorful, more real. I started going out more, talking to people, reconnecting with life. 2 weeks later, I met Sophia at a bookstore. She was looking for the same book as me and we started talking about literature. It was the most natural conversation I had had in years. We arranged to have coffee and since then, we haven't stopped seeing each other. Today, 3 months later, I understand what Thomas meant about real life and true connections. I have Sophia, I've reconnected with old friends, I even started attending a walking group on Saturday mornings. But sometimes, in the quiet nights, I still think about Thomas. I wonder if he found the peace he was looking for, if he managed to move on. And I wonder how many other people like him exist out there, lost between dimensions, trying to find their way home. The radio is still in the basement of the house. I never turned it on again, but I also never had the courage to get rid of it. It's like a reminder of what happened, of the impossible connection that changed my life. Sometimes I wonder if I did the right thing. If I should have found another way to help Thomas without turning him off forever. But then I look at the life I have now, Sophia by my side, friends who care about me, projects that excite me, and I know he was right. He gave me the greatest gift he could give. He taught me that real connections are worth more than any ghost conversation. And if you're wondering if this really happened or if I made it all up, I can only say one thing. I still have the recordings. I recorded several of our conversations on my phone. The voices are there, clear as crystal. Thomas was there, he was real, and now he's free. But there's one thing I never told anyone, not even Sophia. On the last night, before I went after the transmitter, Thomas told me something that still gives me chills. He said, Gabriel, when this is all over, when you return to your normal life, sometimes you'll hear strange things on your car radio, on your TV, on your phone. Small fragments of voices, messages that shouldn't be there. Don't be afraid. It's us, saying thank you. Reminding you that your kindness echoed through dimensions and saved more people than you'll ever know. And you know what's the scariest part? He was right. Sometimes I listen. Small whispers in the middle of songs on the radio, voices thanking in languages I don't recognize, echoes of impossible conversations. But I'm not afraid anymore. Because I know it's them, the lost voices that found their way home thanks to a brave man named Thomas, who preferred to remain trapped forever rather than see another person suffer as he suffered. And that's my story. You can believe it or not, but I know what I lived through. And if any of you ever hear a strange voice asking for help on the radio, especially on frequency 1247 AM, don't ignore it. Sometimes, the most important thing we can do is simply listen to someone who needs to be heard. Because in the end, we're all like Thomas at some point in life, lost, looking for connection, hoping that someone cares enough to answer when we ask for help. Thank you for listening to me. And remember, never underestimate the power of a simple conversation to change a life. Or two. Or who knows how many others you can't even imagine.